So in this video, I'm going to make this flag. I'll have links down below to all the materials I used, from the stencils I used for the Union to the stain I used for the blue and the red. And I'll go through the measurements as well, which I'll have down below. But as you get into this, if you have anything you see you like or you enjoy, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. It really helps out the channel. So with that, let's get into the video. Okay, so I went through all of my cutoffs on my 2x4 cutoffs. I kind of sorted them out by size. These over here are the ones I'll be using for this first flag. They are kind of warped. I know I'm probably going a little too far with this, but since I have bought my jointer and I feel like I want a little more practice with it, I'm going to go ahead and joint these things so that they are flat on two different sides. And then I'll go to the table saw and start cutting them down for the stripes of the flag. So that's what I'm going to do now. It was my first time using my jointer for an actual project. So just kind of getting some flat sides on one side and one edge of these 2x4 cutoffs. And I had to make some adjustments there at the very beginning to get everything kind of dialed in. But once I did, it was smooth sailing. I was able to blow through these pretty quickly. Then it was on to the table saw to rip everything down to size. Again, I'll have the measurements all down below of exactly what I was cutting these to. So it was having to use my push block and readjust because these got kind of thin there at the end or through these cuts. So I had to keep moving various things on my push block to make sure I was safely making these cuts. But once I got into a rhythm, it went pretty quickly and I was able to rip these all down to size. So 13 of these is going to be the stripes in the flag. Okay, so let's just go over the dimensions that I'm using for this. I will put this down below in the description. I made my dimensions of my stripes and everything coincide with the size of the Union stencil I got, which I'll go into in a second. So for these, we have 17.5 inches long, and each one, which is going to be a stripe, is 11/16 wide. And I have 13 of them. So what I have now done is I've got them ripped down to size. So I'm going to put them in my bar clamps here. And what I'm going to do is just sand it down because they're not exactly level and I'm not ready to glue it up yet. I want to sand it where this side, and I'll also look at the ones and see, you know, what side I want up or down. And just get the better side looking up. I got a few knots and things in here, but I think that gives it a little bit of character, so I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so now what I'm just going to do is tighten everything down, and then I'm going to sand it down. I'm going to start with 60 grit, mainly because I've got a lot of material to remove at first. So I'll do that. I will get it down to, I'll get it all the way down to about 120, maybe 220. And then I will take these apart and burn them. I'm going to put burns into them. And then I'll be ready to stain everything down to the proper color and get ready for the final glue up. And then I'll do the stencil for the Union. So that's kind of the process we'll be going through here next. Just getting my orbital sander out and getting it going. So I did start with 60 and then went to 80 and then 120, and I did end up at 220 and got it pretty well smoothed out. It took quite a bit of work to get it there, but it did. So I won't show everything here. It's pretty back and forth on the sander, but yeah, it all came out really good. Okay, everything is done pretty well. I'm going to label these because I have them in the position I want them in. Got to get a pencil. But ultimately, we're going to need a lot more room. Yeah, I'll get it later. So Just going to label this one on the back side. So I'll make sure I'm labeling these on the bottom. I'll just fast forward through this, just burning all the different boards. I was having a problem with this propane torch. I finally got it going and it looked like it worked, but I had to do everything in an upright position with the bottle as much as possible, but ultimately it all came out really good. All right, let me bring you over here and just have a quick look at what all we were able to do. So, looking pretty good. I think it's a little dark, so I might try to sand it down a little bit. I did a test one over here that I'm going to sand and see what it looks like. I may also stain that one and just see, because it's got to be able to take the stain. So, and the ones that don't get stained need to be the whites of the flag. So I did a similar flag up here, and you can see how I didn't burn quite as much on this one, but the whites of the stripes are just not stained at all. It's just the color. So I may have to sand down a little bit, because like this one doesn't have as much, but I want it a little bit darker. I didn't want it this light of burn. I want it a little bit darker burn. So I will give it a shot and see how we do. Okay, so the little sanding did a pretty decent job. You can see how it's definitely lighter than the darker one. So my plan will be to take the white stripes, sand them down so they're not quite as dark, and then I will be ready for the stain. So the darker ones will still get the red stain. I'm hoping they'll come out okay. I think they will, but I may try to do one again as a sample and see what happens. But the next thing will be to stain it, get the Union painted, the blue, and then there'll be glue up, and then they'll be painting the stars on there, and that's it. That's the whole project. So on to the next step. Okay, so I did a little bit of sanding on this. Got it a little bit lighter. This is how dark it was before. I got it a little bit lighter. So my next step now is going to be get the Union marked out, and then we will start staining. And this Union is going to be 7 inches by 5. So just making the mark where the Union's going to be, and you'll see why here in a second as I get into staining the blue for the Union. Okay, so what I'm going to do here to prep these for staining is I'm going to stain the Union first, which has got to be stained with blue. And this is a trick, I'm sure if you've watched so many videos. Basically, I've got the line here for where the Union is. I'm now going to be putting razor blades on there, and this is so that when I'm staining the blue, it doesn't bleed over to the other parts. And then I will do the red, and then I'm not staining anything for the white. I'm going to leave that alone, and then we'll kind of go from there. So that's where we're at. So now I'm just going to take those razor blades, put them on the line for the Union, and hammer them in a little bit. And like I said, it will prevent everything from bleeding over. It works really well. I've done this on my other flag, so I'm doing it here again. So it just takes a little bit of time to put them on and make sure they're in the correct place, and it works good. So once I got it all laid out and everything with the razor blades, I started putting the stain on. This is the blue stain for the Union. Being careful not to go over the razor blades. Also, I'm only doing a few at a time and then wiping it off, because this is a very thick stain and I didn't want to get it soaked in too much. I still wanted some of the wood grain and the burning to kind of show through. Then it was time for the red stripes. So I only did the ones, so it's every other one basically. The very bottom and the very top are red, and then the other ones are just white. So that's how I got this laid out. Again, just doing a couple at a time and then wiping off the stain so it could actually show through some of the burning and the wood grain. And again, being careful with those razor blades still in place to kind of get this all put in place. So, and again, wiping it off and making sure it was looking pretty good. Okay, take a look at what I got here. So you can see how I use the razor blades to make sure that the colors don't bleed. So I've got the unions done. I've got the red stripes done. I'm gonna have to do, this is the outside, and then there's one for the inside too. I don't know where, oh, there's one here and one here. So this one is for the outside of the top of the flag, and this one here is for the inside. So I'll stain these inside and outside parts once it's done. So over there, I have the other parts of the union that are parts of the whites of the flag, and then the white stripes that are there as well. So I've got them separated. So what I'm going to do now is just let this set and dry. Probably we'll let it dry overnight, and then I will come back tomorrow and glue it up. And then probably once it's done, I'll do a polyurethane coating on top of it all. And the one thing I have that is a little bit of a misnomer I didn't realize. So my blue is a Minwax water-based. It is marine blue. So if you're wondering, it's a marine blue. However, the red, I couldn't find one in a good, so I had to go with this other Varathane wood stain, which is a barnwood red. But this is oil-based. The blue is water-based. What does that mean? My oil-based stains, you have to be careful with your rags, your oily rags, because they have the tendency to get hot and spontaneous combust as well. So I'm going to have to take my other rags and lay them out on the concrete to dry overnight as well. And then tomorrow, once they're done, I usually sop them in some water or something and let them dry again, and then I throw them in the trash. And now I'm just gluing everything up. I had already started it, and then I got this video going. But basically, it all glued up really well. Got it all lined up, and I'm doing some wipe out of some of the squeeze out, and we'll let it dry overnight. Okay, so when I thought I was recording, I wasn't. Yet another beginner YouTuber mistake. I didn't get things recorded. But let me just kind of review what I've done. So I had bought these stencils for the Union stars to go on the flag. So what I did was, I've never done this before, so I did a couple practice runs on this spare piece of plywood. And first try didn't go very well. First try here, there's a lot of bleed over and everything. My second try, it pretty good. It's a little bit better, had a little bit of bleed over. So it went well, so I figured I'd go ahead and give it a shot. The way this works is, just kind of go over with you, what I did was I got these stencils off of Amazon. I'll put a link down below to the stencils. And then I got this spray adhesive that it's supposed to be for stencils so that you can put it on and it just sticks everything down, and it's supposed to keep it from bleeding out from under the stencil itself. So I use this. So my first try, I learned I put too much of this on and it kind of squished out, and that's what caused some of the running on that one. The second try, I just put a quick little skim coat on it. It came out much better. And then that's what I did on the final piece. The same thing, just kind of skimmed over it, and then I masked everything off. And I'm just using just plain white paint for the stars. And here you go. Here's the final product. Doesn't look too bad. There's still some little bit of overspray, but it's not too terribly bad. So I think I'm happy with that. And there you go. It looks pretty good. So this was about a one-day project. I guess you could say a little more than that, but only a few hours of work cutting everything out, putting it together. staining everything, letting that dry, and then gluing it up. And then the next day I let everything dry kind of overnight on the glue up. And then the next day I did the stencils for the Union stars. So yeah, it's a small little flag, but it is to correct proportions. And yeah, it's basically just all out of some old 2x4 cutoffs that I had. So that's what it is. It looks pretty good. So I'm happy with it. So if you got anything out of this video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And I'll see you in the next video.